Anatomy of a Fall.
Had you heard about this before I suggested it?
I've heard the name so many times. I think it's from like looking on like my streaming platform and like looking for like top rated movies. And I swear I've seen the title. The term Anatomy of a Fall, I've heard at least like a million times in my life. I've heard it so many times. So that's it. How about you?
Yeah, I knew it was a foreign film. I knew it won the Palme d'Or, I believe, which is, I believe, the equivalent of Best Picture in the Academy Awards, just at the Cannes Film Festival, I think. So it won the Best Picture down there. I got 10 minutes in the movie, probably 10 minutes. And, they're doing the English thing, and then it just goes French. And for some reason, English subtitles weren't coming on when they were speaking French. So I was just staring at it for a good, 6 or 7 minutes when they were speaking French. I was like, hang on, I can't understand this. And I just had to go back and watch it again. Kind of a brain fart there. But what are your initial thoughts on this guy?
I watched Babel a long time ago. And so when I got it,
it's Babel.
Yeah, Babel. Brad Pitt. Yeah. It was an ensemble cast.
I always thought it was Babel.
Or Babel. Sorry, it's Tower of Babel. I think I say that wrong all the time. Anyway, I know what the Tower of Babel was, right? So I watched the thing, and it's lots of different people, lots of different places, lots of different languages, right? And so I watched the entire thing, but there's no subtitles, and everything's in a different language.
Yeah.
And so I thought that's the way it was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And I watched the entire movie not realizing that you were supposed to actually have subtitles. They just weren't working the whole movie.
You got to turn them on.
So I thought it was some director's artistic take on you have to interpret the things you're seeing, and only if you know all the languages can you understand it. And I was like, okay, that was a bold take. And then I find out later, no, there's supposed to be subtitles. You're supposed to understand every scene. So I'm 5/6 the way through the movie, and I look at it online, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Dude, I was like, what the hell's going on in this film?
Same thing with the movie called Lion. It's these two kids in India, these young brothers get lost, separated from their mother.
Dev Patel.
Same thing, man. It's have you seen that one?
No, I think it's Dev Patel. No, I think
dude, it is. Yeah, that movie, it will have you ugly crying. So yeah.
Well, not to worry. Like all things with movies, I promised I would watch everything here carefully, not distracted.
Yes.
And so I did. Mm-hmm. And I think I texted you if you saw my message about these first 5 minutes are unbearable. So I have note. The jarring start. Look, I know there's tons of reasons to do it. I don't need to really necessarily explain. Like maybe it was made to add suspense, made to add tension. Don't start a movie that way. I had it on half volume, and that thing blasted my ears out. And I can't understand what's going on. I'm just getting pissed off every second. But that's what the director wanted. They wanted you to feel tense. Yeah, I don't care. If I watched it in the theater, I think I would have walked out. I really think I would have walked. It was way too loud, purposely so, right? That whole first scene, I just wanted to stop watching it. It was like, bah, 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 bah. And I'm like, I get it. I understand. You can now lower the volume and make it drown out, but make us interpret it's loud, right? Even when the kid's walking away in the snow, it's like he still hears it, right? And implying how loud it is because it's a part of the case. Man, that drove me nuts. So anyway, that aside, I'm like, okay, try and sink in and watch this.
I'll agree with you, sort of. But you know what I'm going to say already. It drove me crazy too. It was like, turn this fucking song off. Turn it off. I hate this shit, right? It's jarring. It's stressful. Completely the intention of the director. And also to show this lead actress dealing with the sound and trying to suppress her anger while it's going on was definitely a well thought out placement, I think, or intentional placement for this character, and the question mark, I guess, that's going to follow her around for the entire story as to whether or not she committed this crime. So I haven't done this in any other episodes, but I did it for this one. I looked up some fan theories on what happened and basically kind of explaining the story a little bit more. Not that it needed any explanation. I feel like it was pretty straightforward. But one person, I can't remember who it was, they had a really interesting theory. The long credits at the beginning, you hear the dog, Snoop, walking around. That's basically just the only sound, his steps going upstairs. That's underplayed over underneath the credits. When this fan had a really, really valid theory that Snoop actually is responsible for the death, that he was playing fetch upstairs. That's why the initial shot of the ball rolling down the stairs, Snoop carries it back up. He got called to take a bath. He left the ball down. The man who's upstairs working on the insulation next to the window steps on the ball, falls out, because the shot of him laying in the snow, you can see the snow missing on this shed, and there are tiny blood splatters. It's very, very subtle. And he zoomed in on this shot, the famous shot of him laying on the ground and his wife and son looking down at his dead body. Really interesting theory, but yeah, I'm with you on the music, the intensity of it. It was annoying. I was already regretting having chosen this movie just a few minutes into it because of that start. But luckily, it leveled out for me after that.
I want to make a really tragic scene. I don't know. Take a dog, like they did in this movie, by the way. You want to make a tragic scene? Take an animal, show it in some beleaguered state, being abused or something, and then maybe kill it. And then what would I do? I'd elicit huge emotions out of you, right? I can do that. That's how you do that. I don't think it's very clever. It's lazy because it's just super loud. Perfect thing. You're like, okay, you got to annoy someone, right? Then I go in your ear, just like the Dumb and Dumber, and that scene was real, by the way, because he actually did annoy the hell out of the actor. That's what you do. You yell in someone's ear. That's not hard to do, right? But like, I don't agree. I don't care if it got that emotion on me. It just irritated me. I'm focusing too much on that. So there's that, whatever. Let's move past that. I did the same thing. I was 5 minutes in. Like, I am going to shoot Matt for picking this fucking film. And then I'll have positive to say, but the courtroom stuff was... Look, courtrooms are always dramatized. I know that. I'm going to assume French court is similar to English court or American court. That thing was so poorly done. It was hard to really bite into it. Like, opinions do not matter in court. I'm talking about American court. I have to imagine French can't be that different. It's not this wildly different. Like, the judge keeps interjecting with the defense, like, if you interrupt again, I'm going to have a real problem. That's the guy's job. Right. And most of the things he's saying, spring up are like valid. So many people bring in like opinions, like the blood splatter person's like, this is the only thing that could have happened. They would never say that. They'd have to be absolutely sure. And they wouldn't say that because they couldn't be absolutely. They couldn't be with the evidence given. They could not be absolutely sure. These things wouldn't stand. The prosecution does something wrong. And what usually would happen is the judge will say, strike that from the record. And this is not to be considered to the jury. They never did that. They just let this like over dramatization of how court works play out in front of you. But that's the thing. Then you're adding to the drama, but you're cheating to get the result. Go ahead.
I would be curious to know if that's actually how things go in the court system there. The impetus for me to get on YouTube and kind of look up a little bit about this was to get a little bit more of an explanation. But I really wanted to know about the dog and the scene where the dog is essentially poisoned, because it's clearly a real animal and it's not a dummy, and it looks dead. It was incredible. And I was initially I was offended because I'm thinking, so are there less regulations in France or other countries for filming as far as treatment of animals? And obviously that's completely unacceptable to mistreat any animal for the sake of entertainment, or for any sake for that matter. But I just didn't see how they did this scene with the dog without doing something fucked up to the dog. And so what I found out, I don't know if you know this, the dog is trained to do this, to act dead. I saw this interview with the dog's owner, and she trained him to do this, to act this way. It's pretty incredible. Yeah,
I actually did know that, oddly enough. The trainer's gorgeous, by the way. So I was looking last night, just wandering on YouTube, and I saw this, like, dogs in movies. And it popped up, and I watched it, and they said, like the dog in Anatomy of a Fall, she taught it in this scene to be dead. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I actually did find it interesting. She's a really pretty trainer. Yeah. The dog was cool. Which, again, I mean, you brought it up. Another, like, I don't know. You can't just, like, gloss over, like, it's just stupid. Like, the kid feeds the dog aspirin to get the payoff. Like, it just, there's so many ways it doesn't fit. And what I just, and I don't do this, thankfully. Like, I have to think more about, like, arguing in life or debate. You see a lot now, I would say, in society, right? Political, Twitter. Yeah. People, like, get contentious and argue a lot, and they don't think they argue fairly, right? Because you can argue anything forever, right? Like, to no end, right? Or you can, like, have bad faith arguments where it's like saying, hey, men are generally physically stronger than women, right? And people say, well, not really. There's always people that don't accept generalities are hard to argue with because they have bad faith in their argument, right? So let me say this, like, there's a ton of ways you could say, like, the kid is distressed. He's so desperate for the truth. He's willing to put his dog in danger because he's desperate for the truth of losing his father. So of course he's willing to take a risk because he must know. Okay, that's an argument, I guess, but it's so stupid. Like, I don't see it really happening. I thought it was a weak plot point, and the plot point was essential. I just find that to be lazy writing. You're like, okay, we need something big. There's a big reveal. We all knew there's a big reveal coming, right? Someone that was going to die, or someone was going to get revealed, or they're going to find some other evidence. Something more was going to happen. You could feel it building. And it was that plot point. I wasn't a fan of it.
I thought this movie was pretty exceptional. I thought it was great. The one force that I couldn't really buy was exactly what you're saying. The kid feeding the dog a bunch of aspirin or Tylenol or whatever to make him sick to prove the point. There has to have been another way to do that as effectively and have it still be believable for an audience. So that did seem a bit forced.
It wasn't needed. Sorry, that was rude.
It wasn't needed at all. Yeah, it was. Yeah, you're right. But I mean, overall, man, yeah, I thought this was a masterclass in acting. Everyone's performance was fucking incredible, in my opinion. There wasn't a single flaw from what I saw in what these actors were doing. And obviously it's a little more challenging to dissect a performance if they're speaking another language that you don't understand, because there is the weight of cadence and how lines and certain words are delivered that factors into a performance. But everything that was in English, I thought, was just top notch, really fantastic. Yeah. How'd you feel about the acting here?
Yeah, I have here. I mean, the acting was great, especially from the lead. Mm-hmm. Amazing performance. I'll think of some of the good highlights, and I still want to go back to the overarching stuff. Like, the argument. The argument they had was an exceptional scene. I watched it like 3 times, I think.
Yeah.
Great. Like her viciousness when she gets mad, and her buildup is. Yeah. It's a very, very well acted scene, and the dialogue is very good in that scene too. Actually, probably hits too close to home. He's like, you're gonna wake up and you're 40 and blame the world type thing, and it's a great scene.
It hits home.
It's great acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She says, "You're petrified by your own standards and your fear of failure." Right. And God, so many of us can relate to that, especially as we age and, get down to our 40s, which, we're already there, but it's interesting. And yeah, the writing here is just phenomenal, and the performances back it up so well. It's such a realistic argument that I think a couple who is in a situation like this would have. It was great.
Yeah, I think the dialogue in that part, by the way, was exceptional. I think so let me give you overarching performances were very good. Right. Exceptional. I'm not going to say like exceptional best ever, really great. If I gave exceptional, it'd be the lead actress. Everyone else was very good. Right. Mm-hmm. For sure. Very good. Mm-hmm. Boy was, I just like when people do this. The boy was a little bit smarter and more along than he should be at his age. So I think it's a pitfall of writers. Right. It's really actually hard to really think how like an 11-year-old would think. So
that's a good point.
Yeah. They make things too smart. So, but that's why I don't give him like exceptional, blah, blah, blah. Exceptional performances from her, really very good from others. Some parts had really good dialogue, but then I still have to evaluate the movie. And there's just a lot, like, it's just the premise. Like, I'll give you the best one. The guy even had a point. I think maybe they even stopped him having the point because they realized it would ruin the whole movie. He showed how high the ledge was. The ledge was, for this guy, would have been right past his, like, waist. Mm-hmm. Right past his waist. Now just visualize this. I think you can. It's past your waist. He fell backwards. He got hit in the head. I mean, just really visualize that. Anyone would win as a courtroom. She had to have, like, I guess, hit him in the head really hard, and he had to stand there, not fight back. Like, I'm just taking it. And then, like, not one hand. I don't care how tall she is. She'd have to, like, 2-hand push him, like, running start push him. Because you see what I'm saying? It's above his waist, his center of gravity. If it was like at his butt, sure, you push him over, he's gonna fall fucking right. His center of gravity is off. It was above his center of gravity, and they said that. So you might be like, oh, nitpick. He says that he's like the thing was this meter high, and he gets off the point. That would have killed the whole argument. She would have had to have hit him really hard, then like after that or during, like somehow simultaneously running start pushed him really hard, and then again against the weight of a guy. I think he was 86 kilos, 160, 170, like 200 pounds, right? It's 2.2. like 200-pound dude fully over who's about to die. You know, like you have like your defensive instincts kicking, you'd hope. And just the premise was just really just silly for me. I didn't buy into it. But then again, is it shrouded or is it encapsulated by great performances? Yeah. But the composition of the movie. So other stuff too is there's too many. It was 45 minutes longer than it had to be, you know, way longer. It's the same thing Blink Twice did. Like, okay, you want tension, you make every scene tense, right? Like, so like I'm having a conversation with you and it's supposed to be like, and Christoph Waltz did this too much. He does this too much down in performances. He'll say something like, and so that's why I'm wondering if perhaps you know what I'm talking about, Matt. But to bring it back to what we were saying, and he does this unsettling like drawdown, and then he gets excited, right? And then you're like, whoa, that became his shtick, unfortunately, right? But it's in this movie, it's this like long panning shots of people doing mundane tasks, and then people talking in jilted sort of conversation. Like it was so overdone. I'm like, you don't need these shots, right? I'm sure the director would defend why they did, but it was 45 minutes too long for a court procedural, basically. And the premise, again, it's not so I'm going to stop there and I'll talk more because I've talked too much. I have something I'll follow up with. You go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not really into courtroom dramas. I know that like Law and Order and shit like that is just always kind of turned me off. So I was hesitant for that reason to go into this, but you know, it's been recommended by a fair amount of people, and the praise is definitely there. So yeah, I understand what you're saying there. For me, it was great, man. It worked. I didn't doubt any of it except for the believability of the dog being poisoned, like I said before. But other than that, I thought it was a really nice piece of work and something different. Had you known any of these actors, or were you familiar with any of them? I guess, I mean, they're all foreign, obviously, but the lead, had you seen her before? She was really good.
No, I haven't seen her before. I live in the United States, so the only real country I care about is the United States.
That's right. That is true. It's the only one that
matters.
I don't trouble
myself. Yeah, I don't trouble myself with other countries.
One thing I wanted to bring up, it was a point of their fight, and she had been unfaithful to her husband. She cheated with a woman. It mentions that this character is bisexual. I think it's pretty obvious early on with her conversation that she swings both ways. But if your lady cheats on you with a woman, is that better than cheating on you with another man? Does it make you feel as demasculated or emasculated as you probably would be?
Probably worse. After that, I'm gonna say it positively. So again, I'm not like constantly a negative guy. I think it's worse because what's clearly done here. Actually, I will roll into it. So I'll tell you one thing I did like. It doesn't mean it makes it all good, but I like the reality of this. This was a really good. If anything else, like I'm looking for a theme. It was a good exploration into what happens in modern relationships that have gone awry. Let me talk about this. The guy is emotional and effeminate. The woman is masculine and assertive.
Yes.
Okay. Does she have emotions? Yes. I don't want to get into this because can a guy be assertive? Of course he can. And it's not worth talking about. It's what they mostly are, right? And she is right. He's a big victim. He's a big crybaby. She even calls him that, and he is. And she's the domineering one, which happens when a woman doesn't respect you anymore. They cheat on you. They don't look at you anymore as a provider, leader, whatever. Like if they are the mom, then you are the child. And that's exactly what happened when he's a man child, right? Now, I know it's kind of like there's more depth to it, but he generally is. And so she goes with a woman because she's a masculine type. So she probably found a feminine woman. So why I see that's worse is it's like not only were you cheated on, but you're cheated on by your masculine woman who's looking for an actual female that she wants to be for you, but can't be because you're not even man enough to make her feel like that. Mm-hmm. Now, I know the man enough thing could be taken a million ways, and like, but don't you think No, I don't think. I think this is a pretty clear example of what happens when you don't have that, not just gender roles, but like normalcy, right? Women chase you when you chase passion. Mm-hmm. You chase passion and excellence, and they'll follow you to the ends of the earth, right? Money, no matter, money, no whatever. But he was lazy. He was afraid. He was a coward. He was resentful. He was catty, right? And so the relationship decayed upon that. When she met him, what was he? Charismatic, a self-assured, yada, yada, yada. So it did a good job. It's a good portrayal about what happens when you let that happen in a marriage. It kind of just untangles everything.
Yeah, and it's so true. I think it's so common. It's great representation of life passing us by and surviving a relationship where one achieves more than the other and the possible windfalls that can result in that dichotomy, because he clearly didn't get to where he wanted to be, but she has success that has surpassed anything that he's accomplished. It's tough, and I think it probably happens a lot. But again, you've got to lead with passion if you're the man, and you've got to not want to be coddled or babied by your partner that is a woman.
Yeah, I agree. And so I think it was a good look into that, frankly. So to answer your question for the cheating thing, that's what I think about the cheating part. But
yeah, and
yeah,
maybe the music at the beginning is, I didn't think about this, but it's PIMP, right, by 50 Cent, some sort of instrumental of that. Maybe his diminished masculinity was maybe him blasting a song like that is him trying to make up for what he felt like he was lacking in masculinity. Just kind of an overly chauvinistic song. At least that's the message behind it. Yeah,
they said the thing like it was whatever. I'm sure it was. So that part wasn't, but it's funny because this was directed by a woman, which is I think why it's getting so much overpraised to the point of winning the top award. And I'm about to back up a lot what I'm saying and tie it to something that might help with why I feel the way I do overall with this. To be clear, again, I'm not saying it was a bad movie because it wasn't. It was a good look into gender roles, I feel like, and what happens with that's one thing to look at, right? And in a man, what happens when you hitch your wagon to a man that did not pursue excellence and acquire the discipline needed for it. Now, there's a billion other ways to look at it, but that's one big theme. But then to bring together the whole movie. So first of all, I try to go to IMDb and look at some of the negative reviews, because sometimes I think I'm like, what if you're just the know-it-all, thinks you have all the right opinions on movies? Like, I want to make sure I'm not in my own echo chamber. I looked at all the 6s and 7s, which is probably close to what I'm going to give it. 6s, 7s, 7 6s, 5s, 3s, 4s, 7 6s, and they all basically say what I say. I can give you the gestalt. I read like 15. I always do after because I'm curious. Hey, are you just hearing yourself? Like, hear yourself, dude. Too long. People are like, I don't get the overpraise. They're like, I don't understand it. Like, it was a courtroom procedural, that was kind of fanciful. If this is how French court works, then scary, right? It was too long, well acted, but well acted on something you didn't really care about. There's a movie called The Life of David Gale. Have you watched it?
Is that Kevin Spacey?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it.
Courtroom procedural.
Oh,
it's a courtroom procedural. I'll ruin it for you. It's a courtroom procedural about the death penalty and how should we have it. And what happens is he kills himself in the end, but they have everything to make it seem like a murder. They don't have exact hard evidence, but it's very close. And they show, what if the system's flawed and someone dies? So he's willing to kill himself to make that point, and he does. Oh. Interesting premise, right? The death penalty, interesting. Now let's talk about tension, subtlety, slow build, great performances, but put together in something you care about. Take Shelter, Michael Shannon.
Yeah.
Exceptional film, nearly perfect. You're compelled the whole way, right? Like the tension delivery fits, the character fits, because the character is not so bright, Kansas type, like Midwesterner, right? Not big on words. It fits, it's well executed. It has a lot of building tension and a really satisfying finish. And the theme is just wonderful, right? I didn't get that. Oh, and the characters, right? Michael Shannon wants to take care of his family. And there's something coming he can't explain it. And his wife sticks with him even after they think he's great. His wife sticks with him. Now let's look at this movie. And I saw this in the comments too. So it doesn't mean I'm right. It just means I don't feel so I'm in my own echo chamber, right? The woman's not likable. She's not really, I'm not going to do the whole mother thing, but she didn't seem like an especially great loving. It doesn't have to be just loving. I wouldn't say she was mom of the year, and neither was the dad. They made their kid miserable. They pitted him against each other, and the dad is kind of like a loser, blame the world, and the mom's kind of like a heartless, I don't know, selfish type. None of them are really likable people. So in the end, you're not like, I want the protagonist to win, or I empathize with the woman, or, I hope she gets that. You don't really care. I didn't. I just don't, because I'm not interested in the characters.
Yeah.
So that's my final. I'm done. That's my whole analysis on the movie.
Fair enough, man. Yeah, it was a little boring, but yeah, it was. I think that what they set out to do, they did really well. Exceptional performances, and the writing was really fantastic for the adults. Yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. Let's get past this. I'm gonna give this puppy just a 7.1. Really good. Nothing extraordinary, but yeah, it was nice.
Oh, well, that's unexpected again. You say things, your language doesn't match your review sometimes. Really? I'm giving it a 7.
Okay. Well, I mean, our score system our understanding of the score system could be a little out of whack too. I think anything over 7 is good. Anything over 8 is exceptional. And well, I did say earlier this was exceptional.
Yeah, because you say when you say those words. Yeah, again.
Let's say 7.7.